Hi, and welcome to the Intellectual Adventure Podcast. We're here to present a fun subject today about the attitude and the seasons, and how may you triumph when weather affects your life. We're brought to you with 4 members today, and we're excited to dive into this together and go over what we feel helps us and what affects us during these times. How are you doing today, guys?
I'm doing pretty darn well, actually, considering it's winter.
Yeah, the winter time can definitely be a weird one with the mix of weather.
Yeah, it's been pretty good for me. Very restful. This last weekend, a lot of working in weather, which is what'll be a fun thing to be able to talk about, working in the weather. But I'm excited to be able to speak.
I'm doing pretty good so far. The snow has remained at about 500 to 1,000 feet above us. There was one day I had to use a shovel, and then it melted. These 50-degree days are grueling, though, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
This is supposed to be welding season, and I haven't started welding yet.
Oh man, Jeff.
Yeah.
And that's a tough struggle there.
Yeah.
Trying to get your timing for your projects.
Cleaning the garage, doing inside stuff when it's raining. That's one way I cope with weather.
Yeah.
Right.
That is cool. Well, we're excited to have everyone together and in this discussion about today. So let's go into the engagement outpost. Does anyone have any resources like books that they read during the off season that maybe is a go-to when they're feeling down, or is there some music that you go to that you find inspiring?
It is interesting to watch my music preference shift season to season, because I tend to have sort of a smattering of songs that I sort of like to listen to, especially while I drive. And it's interesting to see where it changes. It sort of stays in a certain genre season to season. Maybe more, I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but maybe sort of more classic country, more classic, more like instrumental upbeat music during the summer, and in the winter, at least for me, it switches to more modern, like I don't know, just more modern songs, like techno alternative kind of things. It just sort of switches there.
Interesting.
I thought you were going to go the other direction where you mellow out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like upbeat during the winter to counter the blues kind of thing.
Maybe it could be more around like, it's
or is it just the music follows your mood?
I think that's what it does, is when I'm more stressed and things are moving, because things, I don't know why, for me, I feel like things move faster in the winter time in terms of stress, not in terms of actual activity. Actual activity tends to slow down, but then I tend to neglect things I'm not doing, other activities I like to do. And then, of course, work tends to take on a challenge if you work outside.
Yeah. Well, I like how you said faster. The daylight day goes through faster, so you're into the nighttime and you're just kind of like, well, what do I do? What do I do?
Yeah, it's like all your productivity feels like it has to be crammed.
Yeah.
And things feel like they move fast because of like the holidays, like that movement into Thanksgiving to Christmas to the new year, and
there's
then
a chunk of time that goes by really fast. Yep.
And so it just always feels like that just sort of blasts out of the way, and you're just sort of along for the ride. And weather affects that ride.
Yeah, well, and I'm really affected myself. I don't know about you guys if you heat with wood or not, but I feel like that's a big part of scrambling around all winter if you're not fully prepared too. It's getting more wood, maintaining your wood, all that.
Yeah.
And that takes up part of the day too, and maintaining the fire. But honestly, if I'm thinking about it right now, maintaining the fire is one of the things that helps me mentally get through. I really enjoy
Right.
that process and watching the fire. You know, there's something very therapeutic about the fire, very calming.
The orange colors in the fire are therapeutic, and the crackling actually has a frequency that calms the human soul.
I heard that. It's subjectively and objectively true, I think.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me how long, just that's true, just how long, because of how long humans have been sitting around fires and how long that they've been a part of our every culture and every, and how they've just sort of shifted throughout different facets of life. But it's always been present, and it still is, and we still feel it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Oh,
I met a lady one time on the job, and she was from Ireland, and I could just see she had an energy, you know, just she was so bright, and I'm basically like staring at this lady. She's like middle aged or whatever. She's not like super crazy gorgeous, but she's glowing anyways, you know, just man. And I don't know. She says something. She's talking back and forth with her dad, and they have heavy accents, and I'm totally enthralled. And I somehow engage conversation with her, and we get to talking, and she tells me about these it invites me to these fire ceremonies that they do over there in Ireland that are representative of some of magic basically and seasons and everything. And it was really neat to talk to her for a second and take that into consideration of, you know, just like you're talking, the fire throughout our history being that thing we've evolved with, you know, and it really does. It affects us down to the soul level. You know, it's very transformative.
yeah, we'll have to bring that up to Liam when he comes back. He's going through schooling right now, so he's going to be busy for a few months. But once he returns, he's in Ireland and he loves ancient history.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
he would be a fantastic person to talk to about that, because I don't know as much about the regional history of Ireland. It's something I've tried to study on and off, but Britannia has a deep changing of the guard story. There's a lot of nobility and clans and tribes warfare and invasions. So
Mhm.
it's quite the melting pot itself. And learning about I was just going over this with Chad the other day about the deer people in North Americas. That's something that's been disputed for a long time, but it's it's pretty much historically proven with some of the stuff that they found that there's evidence of Gaelic tribes essentially in
Oh,
North
interesting.
America.
Wow.
They were intermingled with Native Americans, and
Interesting.
yeah, they would farm deer. They would milk deer and make cheese from it,
Wow.
and that's why Europeans moving in didn't take the story seriously. They thought it was too outlandish that you could milk deer. So they with that, and but yeah, there's Gaelic runes, or not runes, but hieroglyphs in the Georgia, South Carolina area, and all the way up to Tennessee. Apparently, there was a big
Wow.
stretch, and they apparently used to be called the Whitelands back in like the old Irish churches, and they knew that because they were missionary stones that they would place, and the stones would say things like the Lord's Prayer at that time, or at least parts of it.
There's evidence from the 1100s in Iceland, Greenland, and across the northern United States as well, and into Canada. The Nordic people, the red hair, the blue eyes, the pale skin, you know,
Yeah.
way before Columbus ever decided to come here.
Well, and based on that research too, because you can ask Chad. I was reading it for a long time.
Yeah.
We probably talked your ear off.
Yeah, we got into it that day. We were like trying to leave somewhere, and then all of a sudden we were just like, oh, what are the deer people? And we're just like it was just
Yeah.
one of those rabbit holes. It just kept getting deeper.
Well, I
Right.
knew it was a thing. I was like, I
Yeah.
read this and it was a very legit article that I found before, but I had to dig and I finally found it again. But it essentially it was a result of warfare in Europe. Big surprise. That pushed people north, and they either went to like Britannia or they moved to the west. The reason that was so accessible, based on some other research I had done before, that and you can see it on the ocean currents. It's that ocean current that goes from Britain all the way down. That's a natural flow, and the missionaries they believe, and from evidence they believe that the missionaries went through those flows, and that was like the biggest push for them to go. Is it naturally brought them to the New World, essentially. And then the other part of that is there was migration of them at a point, which was the Scandinavians, the Irish, the Sumi, or the Sami. It's one of the two. And there was a fourth one, but there was like four major genetic groups of that. It was in the Bronze Era. So they came out in the Bronze Age and went to multiple different areas. Like New Zealand was one of them, Greenland and Canada. Those places were other areas. Like from what I read on that article too, it was around New Hampshire that they went to. Mm-hmm. But that's why they never found history until later in studies, because they didn't take it seriously that they would be in other regions. They only looked in like this very specific spot. And
yeah, go ahead. It wouldn't surprise me if other relics of that time that were found, by other people of that region that might have been misunderstood as evidence for something else, or as just general history from the Native Americans. So it was like it very well could have been just straight misidentified for a long time until we started to sort of figure this out. That's what I could imagine.
Oh, sorry for the tangent there, but
yeah, no worries.
I wonder how they dealt with the weather, the deer people.
Yeah.
Well, and that's really it. All these people had different stories about what they did, but
they just got milking their deer, milking them.
Well, the thing I found that was interesting with these tribes, specifically speaking with that, is they did have their own forms of gods, and then at least some of them, and then the housing situation was similar to that of other Native American tribes. So they were different but influenced, and they embraced the ways of the land. That's how I look at that.
The way that things were working when they arrived.
Yeah. Exactly. So I find that interesting.
Oh yeah.
That shows at least some synergy in the peoples of that time. Or trade must have been an important staple of surviving those seasons, surviving the famines.
Yeah, and working with the resources available. I mean, if their housing situations looked like the natives, they must have said, "Hey, how do you guys build houses out here?" Or just straight copied it, but they're taking people who have survived in this region with the resources available and doing that instead of trying to make something that can't work. But either way, yes, this is officially Cameron's second Deer People tangent that he has gone on. So
yeah, it's an interesting one, but they also were referred to as a giant, and that's why like in seeing that giant mummified body is at least recently, for people out of context, referring to Olaf the Giant, but that is very interesting thing to see physically, because that was the first technical giant I've seen in my life. But I've studied different finds of giant bones and sites where, big stones are moved. And you look at someone like that, and with technology, how people built back then, just the understanding of the mathematics and the angles of things. It's pretty interesting to think about how things got moved.
Mm-hmm. Well, when I was in grade school, I had a science teacher that was 7.5 feet tall.
Wow.
And
that's a giant.
Crazy.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they still walk the earth, although we don't really see them as often as perhaps we used to.
Hey, I'm 6'3", about 315, so I'm pretty giant. Okay, so they're out there. We exist.
Yeah, I'm 5'8" on a good day when I'm hanging from something.
After you popped your back.
Yeah. Stretch the neck. Yeah.
So, okay, back on course. Do you guys find yourselves overeating and indulging in things through the winter to get by, or
big time? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a struggle.
I used to. Over the last year, I have downsized on the amount of food that I eat.
Nice.
So, I started with I was driving back and forth to Reno every other day. I drive to Reno, spend the night. I drive back, spend the night. I drive to Reno, spend the night for 2 months, and it didn't allow me a lot of time to cook my own meals. And I don't really like a lot of the fast food that you can find. Your basic fast food. I mean, Reno, you can find a bunch of fast food easy, but I don't care for it much, and you can only have In-N-Out so many times.
Well, and now that it's matching the price of a restaurant meal, like why?
Right.
That is true.
So my stomach has reduced, so I don't need as much food anymore. It's
amazing how that works, huh?
Well, and it kind of coincides with I'm not doing as much during the day either, so I don't work off extra food either. So
Nice.
It's kind of a good fit for my current lifestyle until I change again. Mm-hmm. I'm retired, so it's easy to do nothing.
Yeah, no, I feel like I burn a lot more calories in the winter without realizing. And so that because in the summertime, I burn a lot of calories, but I'm more motivated, and again, there's just sometimes more daylight, and I'm just more motivated to either cook something or to go out and get something. And but yeah, in the winter I tend to eat a lot more junk food and a lot more. I tend to just snack more, just because. Yeah, I don't know why.
Dopamine hit.
Yeah. No, that's what it is. That's really what it is.
I don't want to be sad. I want to be happy.
Yeah, when you're just sitting, when it's dark out, it tends to just instill different feelings in us even if we don't even realize it.
It really does.
What's our consensus on daylight savings at this point? Everyone on the panel.
Needs to end.
Yeah.
We voted for it already. Yeah. What the hell?
We voted on it, and
it's like I think we're all in agreement, and I think
the most egregious slap in the face of our freaking liberties here and our
you got the high-speed rail for that.
Well, sure, you're right, but I mean, we voted on this. This should be it's easy. This doesn't even cost money.
We voted for water down in the South State and for a high-speed rail too.
Yeah.
Oh, and we voted for voter ID. So how far did we get on any of that?
Yeah.
Oh, all I know is that
we also 1.5 million people recalled Gavin Newsom, and
stay on track. This is an easy tangent.
Yeah, it is an easy tangent.
Slippery slope.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm coping with the weather.
Coping with the weather.
Well, that's also another thing to be said is people are indoors more. That advertisement kind of hits people harder. I feel like in the seasons.
And the algorithms.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of shopping ads. A lot of
A lot more screen
politics.
time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
even people that work have holidays off, and they have more screen time.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's something that we all have to kind of adapt to because with how things have progressed and how fast tech evolves and the things are changing, there are good updates out there for one to be had. It's good to keep informed on what your government's doing, what your uh, local grocery market's doing. Those things are practical. I feel to keep tabs on, but if you're constantly obsessing with how the market is and in a way that is affecting your personal balance on your attitude, that knowing when to step back, take a break, you know break that habit for a moment to take a refresh or recourse and maybe talk to some other people, see how they feel about what's going on, rather than just looking at what you're being fed in your algorithm. Because if you go one or too far one way, you're going to get more things that way. That's just how it works.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's this feedback loop now with the algorithms and the AI. Pick anything, go down it, and it's gonna throw back at you all the validation and confirmation. You just go, and it can
Yeah.
really, it can really mess you up. It's done so for me. I've taken a big step back from
yeah.
from the constant feed, and it's really, really helped me get back in touch with me and be conscious and aware, of the literal programming that I'm letting into my space, and taking control of that. That's how I cope with the weather, taking control back of the internal narrative that keeps circulating and having the effect on the mental health.
Yeah.
It's really important.
That's
really
a huge
important.
one. That's
Yeah.
huge.
I
Yeah,
was
go
just
ahead.
kind of thinking something in my head like that made me think of if we got back to our roots with working with the earth and trying to do things like, say in a scenario here, AI takes a physical hold on a lot of industry, and there's a lot of people unemployed, and we move into putting those people into organic farming and tending on crops, and then maybe getting into trades and service and technical things like that. How much that would affect people's moods to be doing something that they know is pushing the positives of humanity forward.
You hippie.
It's
I love it.
it was just something interesting to think about because there is going to be a change of our
100%.
industries. It's going to happen. It's happening. So
Yeah.
what is that going to do
Massive.
to people's attitudes? How are they going to cope?
see.
The retail cashier, the bartender potentially, it's
going to be interesting because I just want to take note on what you said. We put people into this position. We won't be putting anybody in. Everybody's going to make their own decision about what they're going to do, and that's going to be a crazy thing to watch.
Yeah.
It's going to be weird.
It's part of being informed. You have to choose a career that is going to at least push you in a positive direction, or you should. You don't have to, but you should choose something that you can grow with or that grows with you. But if one of those two things isn't happening, then you should be aware of your options or the changes that may occur.
It's going to be a whole new thing to even consider. I don't know. We'll see where it goes if we don't blow ourselves up first. But as a lot of for instance, everybody's got a robot. We'll just say jump however far into the future. We're going to be it's going to be a different decision on what you do. Because if I can have my robot grow my farm for me, I've got a lot more time on my hands to, pick what you're going to do.
Play on X.
Yeah, or do art or pursue higher education even at a later age, because I don't have to work my back 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Work
Yeah, a
on
lot
old
of people
trucks.
choose education for the work that they do or the work they want to do. So
It'll just be interesting to see if it turns into like a capitalistic feudalism. Like something bizarre where
It'll be
there's
so interesting.
there's tech powers, tech power holds, people that own the cloud servers, people that power these electronics because they're powering a workforce at that point.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But
yeah, but they're always going to have your underground. The more power structure that comes and takes hold, they're the people that are maintaining the power structure, also the people that are down here. So you'd have a black market, cloud system that control the robots or whatever, and they can all break dance now or some shit. They use the N word frequently. It doesn't matter.
I think what will be interesting is just seeing, especially how agriculture grows. So, the advancements, agriculture and health, those two things are
we're on
huge
a pivotal
right
point
now.
there. Pivotal. I was just reading about the genome.
Oh yeah, what about it?
Just figuring stuff out about how the genetic expressions are affected, just through the CRISPR, applying the CRISPR and what do you call it, virus or whatever they use it. Anyway, I don't know the full complexities of it. Yeah, gene splicing, but they're coming to more new and better understandings every day. And I was just reading an article about how they got onto one of those of
man trying to beat God.
Yeah, well,
sure. Create a new species. First the AI and the gene editing to create new species.
Well, with anything, you're going to have your splits.
I agree with Elijah. I mean,
you can always, the devil's always in the details. It's always there. But there's some amazing things too. I suffer from an autoimmune disease, so for us to better understand what goes in and affects that gene, because it's a gene expression, to happen is that's magic for me. But on the other side, creating flying monkeys that go around and steal people's purses could happen. You know what I mean?
But that doesn't mean they're not trying to do it either,
Yeah, I agree.
Just so they could say that they did it.
Yeah,
hey, we made flying monkeys.
Yeah.
I think of science in like a way of especially with studying medical advancements, it's without the dirty work there wouldn't have been those medical advancements. And it's like if we can should we, but if we didn't, could we?
I mean,
there's parts of it though that need to be logically addressed.
I think today the medical industry is more about making money instead of curing people.
Yeah.
Well,
if they can feed you medications for years to counter any side effects of your problem, they'll do that instead of curing that problem and not making any more money off you. It's a sad truth, and I've watched it personally this last year. It's very sad.
Well, and it's part of the business model, because it is a business model.
That's right. Bottom line is to make money every month.
It's not even just that; it's a satisfied customer. So being the customer who's like, I'll take the pill. It drives the industry too, So we do have to take some accountability there as the mass.
A lot of that demanded. How many medications are on television commercials that ask your doctor if this is right for you? It's like,
hey, but you just
your doctor's like, yeah, that's right, go for it. And he's cha-ching, he's making money. He gets kickbacks for everything he prescribes.
Yeah.
You just brought up a good point though, Jeff, is for people that watch TV, that you have to either know that you're going to be subjected to those things or not subject yourself to those things as
5 minutes
as other people. But you don't subject yourself to TV, so
no,
it's possible. So it does have to do with what Elijah's saying with some accountability and self accountability there. the government has never been anyone's friend. It's not just built for one person. It's a system.
Yeah.
You can't rely on something or the order of a country to sustain your daily living or your daily balance and project what that is for you. That's absurd, because it's never a equal circumstance, an equal situation that they're addressing, and they know that. So why should they even bother to try and pretend? Like that's why they put us in public school boxes, where you're projected the same message and taught that this is tradition and to be proud of it, rather than hey, let's form adaptation, let's advance our knowledge, let's see what worked for these classes and didn't work. That's the discussion that we could have been having in school, quite frankly, all of us. But we weren't given those kinds of opportunities to the fullest extent, because they don't want the youth coming up with a new agenda.
They don't want you thinking for yourself.
Yeah,
they want you to think what you are told.
It was created by the Rothschilds to make assembly line
Exactly.
workers. It's literally what it was. It's not even a conspiracy theory. It's
it's
what
true.
They did.
It's very, very true. That's why there's bells.
Yeah, I take big issue with it. My wife's all worried about my son, every once in a while with his grades and everything, and to great, not trying to dog or anything. Like, I understand you. That's the push, is to get good grades and get a better job, blah, blah, blah. But I'm just like, if we look at his actual ability to navigate life and adapt and understand things, he's emotionally intuitive, like unbelievably so, all these things that really freaking matter. He's going to be fine. He just is bored in school.
Out of curiosity, what grade is your son going through?
6th right now.
Yeah, 6th is a weird one. Definitely to navigate, and they're the agenda, or sorry, the academics that they've shifted into. What's up, Rosie?
Rosie. Oh my gosh.
Stimulus overload. But the agenda I said it. The academics of school that they try to present are very generalized. They've become generalized now, and that's like become the new solution is, well, give them a little bit of everything, and then eventually they'll get something. And I think that's kind of like a let's see where the shotgun pellets land. And maybe it'll help give them enough information to find a job.
Right.
So, because that's how it feels. They don't want you. At least in Northern California, when I was trying to, as an active high school student, go into college academics, I could only go up to 10 credits at a point. And I think 10 was pushing it. So, they did not want you to exceed what they told you should be learning, the rate you should be learning at. This is essentially how I
You're saying they would only let you take on 10 credits a semester, kind of thing?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking crazy.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, so I have time and I have the willingness to do it now. Yeah. And you're going to deny me my educational rights.
Yeah. They're just smashing ambition for education.
Why do that?
Yeah.
What's the point of doing that?
Because they don't want you to think for yourself.
Well, and I was also getting a discount.
Just be a good consumer.
Because I'm a high school.
It'd be a money thing too.
And it's a money thing. Yeah. And that's what really made me pissed, because you shouldn't expect kids that are just coming into the system to be bound by this blight of money. Like, prove your academics to be worth coming back. How about that? And then you attract people to come in. But instead they deny you the right to fully express your academic opportunity. And then what's the point of a community college opportunity if you could just do that online and maybe get more access? Like, I don't know, theoretically speaking here, but there's more options. And if I was in the college's shoes, like, why wouldn't I want to fully allow a change here? and try to fix that problem so that there's a better implementation. People don't feel so ostracized. Because the people that come through there and want to do that kind of stuff, well, yes, I see the tangent, but I'm trying to make a point
just
here.
putting it out there so we don't keep going, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'll drop it, but I was
How do you do
trying
that
to
with
get
a snow shovel in your hand?
I think we just need to make a topic about education, Cameron. Like we just need to get it out of the way. We have so much to say about it.
That's a
Yeah.
big one. That's really big.
It's such a huge.
My
well,
mind went 5 different directions, and I'm just like waiting to say something. I'm like, no. We need to.
Yeah, we all have so much to
Yeah.
add to that. I mean, because you have a a kid who's in school. I went through school with severe ADHD, and Cameron is sharing his
Here too.
his experience of that, of having your ambition be cut short because of this and this, and it's just hard to have to hear that reasoning from your educator. It's hard to hear that from the person who's supposed to be giving you knowledge, the source, to say, no, this is as much as we want you to have. That's what was really difficult for me too, because that's what it felt like. It was, this is as successful as you can be based on what you're putting in to our system that we created based on something else. I don't know. That's how I felt. But either way.
Well, I didn't mean to cut you off either, Cameron. I was just trying to put it up so we didn't go too far down the hill. It looks like you want to really get it out there too, but if you gotta.
The reason I was even bringing that up was to wrap it around mental health, because there was a at that point on the campus that unfortunately happened, and that was when things started being changed on how they handled it in that area. But it is a whole rap about thing, and it sucks, but it also is something that should be expressed.
Agreed.
That's why I get so passionate about it, because as a youth, I got pushed out when I was trying to express this. Don't mean to tangent. I think that I'm not the only person going through that. And what I was just about to roll into with it was that people that are going into those academics aren't stupid. You know, they know what they're trying to achieve. So for them to get cheated in a system that they're taught is supposed to help them, that's something that should be discussed about with the attitudes of the schooling season, even for the youth.
Yeah.
So that was the tie, was the youth. The youth are part of this discussion too. It's not just
the youths,
not just adults.
Them youths.
Them youths. 2 youths.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. How it affects the kids going through a broken school system in the winter. You know what I mean? That's how you're starting it out, coming off of summer where you're all high about it. Big lows. Yeah. That definitely ties in.
The good thing,
no more swimming, no more running around in the daytime.
Well, and the good thing is that they changed the times to a later start. That was a bad thing for a long time. I mean, even in the early 2000s, they wanted 7:30 start. Well, yeah, they a lot of schools moved to 8 or 8:30 starting time instead of 7:30.
Okay.
Because it messes with your circadian rhythm.
As kids, especially. Yeah. Okay.
And I felt it.
Yeah.
I always felt that way, groggy in school.
Yeah.
And then I understood the science behind it, and it was like, oh, wait, there's a sleep schedule. There's like these are cycles. I'm not supposed to just dream and then wake up. I didn't understand that. I just knew that I had sleepwalking problems and stuff, but the school never helped educate me on a healthy sleep schedule. I think that's something we're missing too. Healthy development. Give a healthy development crash course as kids.
Keep doing that. Sorry, guys.
It's okay.
Yeah, it created a bad habit in me of where, because my school in high school started at 7:45 a.m. and and that was pretty early. So it was like it made me want to sleep in on my weekends all the time, and it's carried with me to now where on my weekends I want to sleep in, and that's a large part of my day gone. It is an activity I want to do, but it was definitely, I started that habit early because of school and having to be up so early during my week.
Yeah.
But
well, and you mentioned ADHD earlier too. I think that's that compounds it too, you know.
Yeah.
It's get so exhausted.
Yeah, it was very difficult to fit into the school system and to be able to do what they were asking of me. And it was hard to have to get, graded on that system and have to be judged and have that, put down on you as a kid in my youth. I wish it was done differently. And I mean, I even look at, the things I was most successful in school were, well, stagecraft and shop class, and then more extracurricular items like participating in search and rescue as a volunteer, or participating in my theater as a tech crew, which was basically like, I mean, it felt to me like working for the school, like working for the stage, but for no money and for no real credit either. And I think it's funny that those things don't really get credit. Not those things specifically, but
What credit?
just I don't know, just credit for doing it. It's
Like
kind of
social credit or credit?
it's such a specific example. It's hard to really pin what that is, but that was what I struggled
Something
with was,
material besides the feeling you take away from it.
yeah.
Part of the model we were working on in my school to redesign the education was a model that if you took an activity such as like theater, you would then do things like mathematics, maybe some English, maybe a little science behind how you get the coat of paint to shimmer a certain way. Like you would integrate these things, do them as an educational part of the journey, and then you get the academic credits from those individual parts and portions. And you're still fulfilling your academic need from the SAT standpoint. That's the cool thing with it is it's possible, but it's just not done that way.
Right.
Well, for me, as far as continuing school after grade school and high school, I specifically took a class for basic welding, and then everything else, I years later, decades later, I took another class on TIG welding. Other than that, that's the only college I've ever had, and I've made a good living. I've bought my own house, been married, the whole deal. So you don't need to go through college to get a degree to achieve your goals,
I agree.
unless your goals include that.
And that's changing with this day and age too. I was just thinking that I don't know how long the public school may even be a functional system. I mean, aside from just demanding you send your kids to school, there's so many other options to educate your kids now. If people start jumping on just a little bit more savvy to, structuring some of your own homeschool type situations, it's, the sky's the limit with if you want to teach yourself something for free on the internet anymore.
Oh yeah.
It's
Right
pretty
now is
wild.
a good time. Like
Oh, yeah.
right now is a good time, but
Yeah,
that
you can have an
window
AI
is,
teacher.
You can
But-
learn just about anything on YouTube.
Yeah,
well,
it's
yeah,
awesome.
you can do things, but the problem will be the actual certifications and
Yeah.
Right.
degrees needed because that window is going to close. And I was doing some research on this too recently. I can't recall exactly where I heard this, but it was talking about how there is going to be a resurgence of college, but what I'm hoping is that they have college reform, because even
Yeah,
though there's going to be resurging need, are people going to want to do that? Are they going to
yeah.
deny those costs in?
Well, and
So-
to bring back into the free market, if people aren't going to do it, it will reform to their
Yes.
to their requirements and their need. They'll have to by financial pressure.
Mhm.
And
Maybe we're going to see more workplace education incorporated.
or we'll see they may come up with a system to be like, all right, you take a series of placement tests and then do a performance and some exit tests to get the degree on a more of a fast track than having to go through, and it all works out whatever way, financial, blah, blah, blah. We might see more of that, because if you've got the talent there, but the degree's the only thing in the way, they'll reform it to make sure that connects and goes and flows, ideally.
Yeah, I totally agree.
There's a
I
chance.
totally agree.
Yeah.
It's like Kevin Danaher would always say, you know, you want your form to fit your function,
Okay, right.
not your function to fit your form. Because if you're trying to operate out of the old structure with a new platform, it doesn't work as well as creating a new platform to operate your new structure.
Right. Yeah. So we'll see.
That makes sense. I mean, that's practically what I had to do since I felt like school did not prepare me for life. I looked at the one thing I was good at, which was working for a cause, and ran with that. When went straight into the workforce and found that kinesthetic blue collar activity, I can make money off of that. I can make money off of my own drive to be active.
Follow your
But
passion.
yeah, the only problem with that is that I have less energy to follow my other passions.
Yeah,
But
well,
one passion is working and problem solving, and there's plenty of work and problem solving to be done out there.
yeah.
But and to be fair, I mean, you know that you can address that within your
Yeah,
life,
I'm
and
aware
that's
of it.
well, and that's a step, and that doesn't mean that you want to just be in that state of mind your whole life.
Mhm.
Like you're driven to find a way to incorporate the things you love each day. So
Yeah.
this is just a step to get you further into a space of creativity. That's one way I'm able to look at positives in a time where I may be caught up with talking to people about the education system too much, because I do that a lot and I don't mean to, but
Hey, man, it's your
When we're-
trauma, bro. It comes up, dude.
Yeah.
when we're passionate
Yeah.
about social change and you feel shut out, it's
Yeah.
a very alarming thing.
Yeah,
Because
and you're not, like you said earlier, you're not alone.
it's a thing that will have to be addressed.
Yep.
It just like anything else in life, though, it's finding a balance with your attitude.
Yeah.
And what works for you, because there's a lot of us that wouldn't be happy with a desk job. Wouldn't
Not
be
me.
happy sitting still. It's hard to find positives in environments like that, but when it's seasonal and when you get all these aspects that we've been talking about together, it's a lot to mentally sort through what matters to you in that day, what you want to make a difference in on that day.
Yeah.
That's why I try to break it down. Yeah.
Well, if I could add something, I knew that I wasn't going to be happy in a desk job. I had no aspirations. I was mechanically inclined and I enjoyed working with my hands, taking things apart and making them run. I became an equipment operator I joined the military, and I went in as an open mechanic, but they gave me a choice, 5 choices. What do you really want to do? So 4 of those were diesel mechanic, special equipment like fire trucks and heavy equipment, stuff like that. But my second choice was equipment operator, and I'm kind of glad I went down that path in life, because it gets to the topic of this whole discussion and the weather. Part of my job in the military, in the Air Force, was to plow snow around bombers loaded with nuclear weapons and tanker aircraft loaded full of fuel. And you had to be I was 20, 21 at the time. So, and I had never driven anything as large as what they put me in. So it was always something that the more it snowed, the more I was out in the snow and around this other equipment. So my whole mental shift had to be separation of my equipment from the planes. You touch a plane and it goes down. You got months worth of repairs at that point. They ground the aircraft, you just basically scratch the paint.
Yeah.
So, and then in the summertime, all the chips and stuff we would put down on the roadways to keep traction for people, we would run street sweepers and we would pick that up and go dump it over at the dump on base. But I followed that throughout my career. I stayed an equipment operator, and it took me to many different places. In Chicago, I went back to Chicago after I got out of the military, and I had to run a semi tractors through the city in the winter, which was fun. You know, you carry a hammer to beat the brakes because they're frozen. You know, when you set your brakes, when you drop your trailer, you set your brakes. Well, the wet brakes freeze. So when you go pick up a trailer, the brakes, you can almost bet they're frozen. You just hook up your lines and walk back to the back with a hammer in your hand, knowing you're going to have to beat on these brakes to get them to release. So, you know, depending on your career, there could be a lot of involvement with the weather. You know, as opposed to just driving to and from the office and doing desk job all day long. You know, for me, I was in it. I was in it my whole life.
Well, and keeping positive, you know, yeah, and Chad, go ahead. I want you to respond. I don't mean to.
Oh, no, that's okay. I was gonna say it's really interesting to look at how, you know, things like that where your whole life and job. There's so many people out there that have experiences like that of where your life and job have to revolve around the weather, not just getting to and from. It's like that's its own involvement in the weather, but it's not. Yeah, but it's not make or break like it is for even for HVAC, where when things heat up in the summertime, we get more cooling calls, and when things cool down in the wintertime, we get a lot more furnace failures, and and it's and I think it's interesting to see when people lose touch with that dependency, because I think part of that weather dependency is what makes it so that, I mean, I don't know, maybe, you know, agree with me, you know, if you feel this way, but sometimes I feel like seasonal depression feels different when you're weather dependent. When your career is dependent on the weather, because a lot of people get seasonal depression in the wintertime. I get it in both seasons. At the end of either season, I'm just like, I just want change. I get so fed up with the hot, the attics, the dust, and then by the time the winter's over, I'm like, oh, I need sunshine. There's no daylight, you know.
Yeah.
So,
No, I think it's extreme. You know, it's an extreme variation of seasonal depression that is a common occurrence in society. You know, it's not that there's separate incidences people can understand or feel that they understand, but it's just you have more of a pronounced experience because you're constantly exposed to those environments physically and mentally.
Yeah.
Well, and I wonder how somewhere that has more moderate weather or that just has more mild seasons, how it expresses to someone who experiences something like that. Because I know that in Portland, you know, in like, you know, in the more valley region of Oregon, it's far more rainy, and it rains for a large part of the year. And so we have basically two seasons, and one is, you know, depressing, but a lot of people, and me included, do like the rain, or at least we trick ourselves into liking it, to where, and a lot of people enjoy rain. That's a pretty common opinion.
Make stuff grow and turn green.
So it's interesting to hear different people's like feelings on seasonal depression, because I do think we all feel it in some way.
That's interesting. I wonder, I was just thinking, because I was thinking, you know, as you're describing it, how it changes, that people say on, you know, are more Mediterranean, to where it's always kind of just one type of weather, and then how that would affect one, and then that led to thinking of how maybe a lot of people who live in these places are kind of attracted to that type of weather and end up there going, this is where I feel at home. And then I thought, maybe how does that tie back to our genetics and our ancestry and everything, and how, you know, what regions we evolved in, and to what, you know, to what degree that affects our comfortability now.
Yeah. With that said, the genetic part, Like I've always felt like a natural inclination to the cold, and
Yeah.
you know, it's um, I did grow up in the mountains, but at the same time, I feel like uh, excited, you know, driven to be in those environments, and
To
also
thrive.
it's expressive. I feel like my body wants that, you know, to have a healthy routine. Like
Mhm.
there's some form of exposure that I want to be involved with to feel connected to the earth and
Awesome.
connected with the the history around me. Like, you know, these are environments that people walked in daily to get between, you know, trade, to get between industry, um,
To take a shit.
to
Yeah.
take shit, you know, exactly
To
this.
just survive. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it because snow, specifically snow, if we're referring to really harsh cold conditions, like, well, harsh, but snow to me is also, and wintertime conditions are a certain type of competition that we take on with the environment. We're
Yeah.
competing with the environment no matter
Yeah.
no matter how we look at it. And I think that competition is something that's pretty ingrained in us, that we want to, that or at least the four of us enjoy. We're
Yeah.
like, yeah, like we can compete with this weather and we can win. And there's something satisfying about that.
I think that's kind of a primal man thing too,
Yeah.
you know. For real. There's a
Yeah.
good feeling about. I mean, as kids, I don't know if y'all did this either. You go and you build that structure, and if it held off rain, even if it was just a bunch of sticks put up together with a freaking tarp wrapped around it,
Yeah.
you're in there eating your peanut butter and jelly sandwich, counting your marbles with your buddy, being like, "Fuck yeah."
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a great point. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know, how many people build forts, you know, even blanket forts, like
dude. Yeah,
the
How many people built a
willingness.
snow fort?
Yeah,
nice,
yeah. You know, the
nice.
willingness to get in a different situation and change your environment when you're young, especially, is interesting to point out.
Yeah, and like you
Like,
said, Chad, to thrive against the odds, to thrive against something that's trying to kill you,
Yeah.
and not just thrive, but like be comfortable. Like, oh
Hmm.
shit, I'm doing this. Yeah,
Yeah, because it's not easy, and it doesn't feel like that in the summer. I mean, you're hot, but it's more of like a fatiguing hot. It's like, but in the winter, you're there. Even I always feel it the most when I get my vehicle stuck in the snow,
yeah,
and then when you get it out, you're like, "Oh, I'm out of here," like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
oh man, no, guys, this is great. I think. I mean, are there any other points that we want to make before we go into Breakpoint Heights and go to our
Uh,
highlights?
yeah. For this, we talked a lot about the winter. For the summer, as a kid, water was an addiction. Basically, I've always thought of it that way. I was a water kid, love it. We have I'm right next to Yosemite. We have a river comes right out of that, fresh snow mount. It's wonderful. It's pretty freaking cold, even in the middle of summer. But in my older age, as I'm working on my mental health and coming through things, I do a lot of cold water exposure therapy, um, for dealing with shifting moods and controlling and managing my moods. Um, and I did some revelations recently on thinking back to how often I wanted to be in the water as a kid, and how I was inadvertently using that cold water exposure, basically not just the activity of it's fun to swim, but because it was always really cold. It was a big thing to get in the water, and that was part of what I enjoyed. It was as if I was jumping into another dimension, and the cold was peeling off everything that was me before, and now I'm new and fresh.
Mhm.
And I think there's something to that. Compared to baptism and everything, all these things. There's really something powerful to the water to help one deal with and manage through
I
life
have to.
in general, but of course
I
the
got to
summer.
agree with you, Elijah.
Mhm.
I grew up across the street from a pool, and I was there from the day it opened in the summertime. We had to wait until school closed for the summer before the pool would open, and then the
Yeah.
pool would close just before school would open.
Yeah.
So if my parents wanted to find me, I was in that pool. I
Yeah.
took all the swimming lessons. I got through with my swimming lessons and I still wanted to keep taking more. So I took life saving, and I was like 14, 15 years old taking life saving courses.
Yeah. Wow.
And like you were talking about the Yosemite River, it's coming down. That's snow melt. That's just above freezing, you know. And they would fill the pool in the early summer out of Lake Michigan, which was not too far above 40 degrees.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we would have a similar experience in the beginning of the summer before the, you know, I know exactly that feeling when you jump in or you dive in and it just shocks the crap out of you.
Yeah.
And,
Oh yeah.
It's amazing. It's one of my go-tos, you know, and
by the end of the summer though, it's gone for us, you know.
Yeah.
The water warms up to like bath water at that point.
Yeah, right.
But yeah.
Yeah, that is a good
when
point.
I was a kid.
Yeah, I think it's like a very like the way you're displaying it through your experience, Elijah, is an experience of solitude. You know, you're able to express yourself through the water and flow it off of you. You know, it's a very like atomic feeling. You know, where you feel it in your cells, you feel it in your body, like
all the way down to the spirit.
When you go underwater, you're closed off too. It sort of shuts down your other senses, and you can only feel the cold water too.
Yeah, it changes everything. Everything. It's like going into another world. I mean, you're moving into another world.
It's another realm.
Yeah, and it's amazing. I love it.
And it's easy to be fearful in that state too.
Yeah,
you know, someone who's not used to that.
Yeah,
that's
you are vulnerable.
When you're overriding your fight or flight system in before you get in the water, to do that, you're being more aware and more in control of your physical nervous system, your body,
your
to
mortality.
Do such a thing. And you're moving beyond that. You're saying, "Fuck you, I'm more than just a flesh bag, and this is what we're doing today." And it's pretty magical.
Yeah. I went on from childhood swimming lessons to swim team in high school, did some diving, and did some rock diving when I went into the Air Force, when I went into the military, out in South Dakota. So I got to experience the American River too. I would go down in March, because in Sacramento it's nice down in Sacramento in March. So we would float inner tubes down the American River, the Lower American, and
awesome.
it was still snow melt. You know, you had to wear shoes just to keep your feet warm enough. You know.
Yeah.
So
the way I do it in the winter, I don't go swimming, of course, because it's probably kill you. But I get in my hot tub and I go over to my well water and run that over myself. And man, oh man, it's really a life-changing routine. You know, people do their ice baths and everything. I think I want to get one day, but just even that is really useful.
Yeah, that's something I want to experiment with more. I mean, I used to do it when I was a kid, you know, run to the river and swim in February kind of thing.
Yeah.
But like, I think my favorite story, I've told a few people of this, is I think it was around like February, March. I went to, it was February. That's right. I went to a little area to try to find, I was going to explore a campsite with some friends, and we were walking around, and there was a goose. I really wanted this goose, so I took my BB gun and walked halfway into the river, and was trying to get this goose. It was not working, of course, bouncing off. It was laughing at me, and kept moving down the river. So I was like waddling, my friend's like, "You're just going out there in your jeans?" I'm like, "Yeah." I think I I either took my jeans off and went in my boxers, or I rolled my jeans up to made them like shorts. But either way, like I remember being halfway in that river, just like
doing it, just going after that. I'm totally picturing you as like Elmer Fudd style through the river, like
Yeah.
it was flowing too. I mean, it was a good flow. I don't know what else to say. It wasn't small, you know, but I wasn't at all I was really happy. I was like, this is great. I'm awesome. Enjoying my day.
Rabbit season, duck season, goose season.
Stinking snow geese, man.
You know, like, to take a goose with a BB gun, that's a true hunter trait. I'm right. That's a big deal.
Yeah, man.
Right in the eye.
Yeah, that's where I was trying to go. Yeah. No, he won, but no, I definitely think water's a magical thing. I'd have to agree with that.
You know, on that topic, the last thing I would want to bring up would be water consumption in the seasons.
Ooh, yeah.
Based on weather.
That's big.
Because that really affects people, and it really affects me, and it really affects your mood. Because in the winter, I am way less inclined to be remembering to drink water. Cameron sees me. Look, he's doing it right now.
Yeah.
But Cameron will be like, when was the last time you drank water? And I'm like,
drink your water.
Yesterday. You know, like,
dude, I thought about getting a tattoo. You know, drink your water.
Yeah.
That's a good tattoo.
It's actually not bad.
Seriously, right? Like,
that's a pretty human thing to do, to tattoo yourself a reminder to stay. Just get some water.
Or if you're really forgetful, just write it upside down, so it's facing other people.
Yeah.
And then you'll be like, wait, what did I write? Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
be drinking
that's
coffee.
another part. Everybody else is telling you about it all the time. You're like, fuck it.
Because people would ask, people would be like, what's with the tattoo?
Drink your soda. What, dude? You're breaking the law. You're just
son of a bitch. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's huge, man. I've had a few kidney stones this last year.
Oh, really?
Oh my God, awful experience.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's directly correlates to not drinking enough water and drinking too much caffeine. Which I'm on day something like this, no caffeine. Woohoo!
Dude, congrats,
nice, man.
Yeah, I thought of it earlier when I got on. I was like, I need a cup of coffee. And I was like, bitch.
No, proud of you for that, Elijah. That's a
thanks,
tough one, man.
It's important because those kidney stones, dude. Like, ooh, I'd have one surgically removed, and it was a transcendent experience.
Yeah, my mom has had 2 kidney stones, and she described both of them as like immeasurable pain, just unbelievable.
It's wild. You're at a certain level, and you're like, okay, going to the hospital, and you're like, all right, guys. And they're like, all right, here's some pain meds, and you're like, all right, guys, it's getting worse after you give me these pain meds. Are you sure those pain meds, or was that like a pain increaser? Like, what the hell? Holy crap! There's another level, and you're just like,
oh my God.
My mom told me a story that she went into either the doctor or the emergency room, and she was just in a room waiting to see somebody, and she was in so much pain that she just, you know, when you sort of find a position and your body is like, oh, it's slightly less painful in this position. Well, she did that, but like just like on all fours, like on the ground. And so when the doctor walked in, he did like a scan of the room and then looked down and said, oh, well, what seems to be the problem? Oh.
Pain.
Yeah, pain.
Oh, nothing.
I have a crystal in my body. Yeah.
I dropped my contact lens. I have Yeah, they had to give me Dilaudid to finally hit it, you know, and that's I started talking about unicorns and rainbows and shit.
Oh yeah.
Kidney stones are no joke, and I think more of a seasonal hazard than people imagine and people realize, especially as we forget to drink water in the winter.
Yeah,
we're using the same amount, if not more, than the summertime.
That's it. Yeah, you just don't feel yourself perspiring, you know.
Yeah, and you don't feel thirsty, because in the summertime, I want to drink all the time, like guzzle down water.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Yep, trying to make the change, do better. Bought myself one of these. What you're sipping on there? 64 ouncer.
Yeah, they're magical, man.
I need to get
Makes me
another
want
one.
to
I
drink
lost
water.
mine. Well,
yeah,
I
you
didn't
need
lose
another
it.
one.
Yeah.
You listen to what you just said. You
I
need
just broke
another
it down. I just
Like, you will drink your water.
Yeah.
Or
Oh, it's a
get the
problem,
lotion
man.
on the skin.
I'll look at Chad. He's all flushed. I'm like, when you drink water? He's like, now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's an important thing. I'm glad that it got brought up. And you can't. There's two things like that I try to not judge myself on too hardly when I feel like I'm not getting my point across when I'm talking to people, or it's after a long day and I'm or maybe it's not and I'm just feeling tired. I try to generally get off of doing a project when I'm tired like that, and sleep. If I'm doing
Recharge.
something competitive, sleep. Like if there's eye strain, sleep. Because you can't judge yourself when you're in that state of mind. It's very negative to do that.
Yeah, it's a big deal, dude. For real. Sleep is vital.
Yeah.
My wife gives me shit if I'm falling asleep early, and I'm just like, please don't do that. Like, I need my sleep.
I
Like,
need it.
you're making me feel
Yeah.
pressure. And I take
Yeah,
naps during the day. And I'm just like, I don't give a shit I've done that since I was in the Navy. Like, I have to take my naps. Like, it's vital. Not always. Sometimes I'll go through and be like, all right, cool. But and it's just 20-minute, 30-minute power nap, man. And I'm like, all right, let's get this. I got this.
My naps turned from power naps to like power down naps. And
Yeah. Well, you gotta time it. A 40-minute nap is you're gonna have to do another like 20 or 30. There's cycles to it, right?
Yeah. I think self-discipline's like the last thing I can think of adding with your attitude. Creating some discipline within your life is gonna make you feel rewarded when you engage in that sleep, when you engage in drinking water and remembering to drink water and things like that. It's important to establish boundaries for yourself, how far you'll push yourself until you're like, okay, this is when I need to put the foot down for my health.
Yeah, agreed.
And that's something easily overshadowed by our work with a lot of people's lives. Retail. Oh, I'm gonna just slam an energy drink because they want me to work an extra half of the day today.
Yep.
I used to do that trucking late in the afternoon.
Perfect. Yeah. I can imagine.
Well, once you've done it and it worked, you're like, oh, well, there's a new tool in my handbag,
Yeah, and it didn't really work well for me, and I didn't care for the flavor, and so it didn't last very long. I gave it a shot. I had better results actually from a cold mocha Starbucks cold coffee, in the late afternoon. Dude, I'd pick the truck up at 5:30 in the morning because my first delivery had to be there before the people that were renting the equipment got there, so that they could use it as soon as they got on site. So,
oh man.
So I would, if I didn't load the night before, I'm literally loading my truck at 5 o'clock in the morning with heavy equipment, low boy, and then hauling it somewhere. Could be anywhere in California.
Yeah.
And then, fortunately, California Valley does not get snow. Otherwise, that would have complicated things quite a bit.
Right.
But, my dispatcher would try to get between storms if I had to go over the summit into Nevada, that kind of stuff. So,
well, and that reminds me of what you were saying with, when you choose your career, you may have to be exposed to the seasons. When you're saying breaking something apart from the ice, it's easy to make that an experience where you're like, stupid ice, and you're, maybe that's your way of expressing, but to the people that work with you, is that a healthy expression? Is that necessarily how you want to carry yourself about? And should that be what people expect when they ask you to break some ice every time? Like,
well, some people may enjoy the ability to get some aggression out on the ice. You know, they look for that as part of a healthy routine. And I have a friend up in Superior, Wisconsin. He took me over to the Port of Duluth, Port of Superior. Shoot, in the middle of the winter time, it was like January, and the ice on these vessels that plow back and forth in the Great Lakes, you know, the ore vessels and stuff like that. The ice builds up like crazy. I mean, thousands of pounds of ice hanging off the bow of these ships. They have to break ice basically on the ship just to keep it from weighing down and being too much. It won't float, even though it's covered in ice, and ice floats. It could still sink the ship, you know.
Yeah. It still weighs something.
It weighs a lot, 8 pounds per gallon. Yeah,
it's crazy. Yeah, no, yeah, that's something though. Knowing yourself, if you can't handle being, you know, if doing that act correlates with other actions in your day, you know, like, well, I had to, you know, if it becomes an excuse, like I had to break ice, you know, I had to really exhaust myself. Well, maybe you were just being, you know, like over the top about it, and you were doing too much. You were putting too much energy towards that situation. And I think that's what I'm getting at is
or their genetics belong in Florida or Hawaii or something.
Well, and you know, yeah, just knowing how much energy you're putting towards the tasks. If that task is too much for you, you know, maybe finding a better fit. There's always options as long as you give yourself the power to have those options. Because you can easily tell yourself, oh, well, no, I don't want to change. I'm going to keep doing this.
I think we use weather. I mean, there's a lot of times when weather is a reason, but I think a lot of times without realizing it, we use weather as an excuse where we fixate on what weather stops us from doing versus trying to, where a lot of us have to find ways to do things despite the weather. But I think a lot of people, and me included, will, you know, use weather where it's like, I don't want to do that, or that's too difficult, or blah, 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 because of weather. It really can have the potential to slow things down, but I think it's all about how you move through it. Again, there's a lot of people like the four of us who've had to work in the weather. We've had to do that before.
And that's our choice. Yeah.
But we still use aspects of weather as excuses or reasons, because sometimes it is pretty extreme. Sometimes it does bar you from doing something.
Yeah. I will not make a trip that I have planned if there's a lot of nasty weather in the way of it. Just because I've driven through so much of it, I'm done, you know.
Yeah, there's no reason to risk so much.
Yeah, the danger factor.
Unless you have to be there for a specific reason, you know, don't be that guy.
Yeah.
And I just did that a couple of weeks ago. You know, I was supposed to go have dinner with people over in Reno, and it was nasty, so I postponed it.
Well, on that note, I think this is a good time for us to transition into Breakpoint Heights and kind of see what we find to be the highlights. So, is there a highlight you guys know off the bat that you got out of this?
Well, go ahead. Oh, you go. Go for it.
What I got was that between the four of us, we've never really been office types. So the weather has affected us in our personal and business lives pretty much our whole lives, you know, from the time we were kids making snow forts to driving snowplows in and around nuclear bombers, you know. It's one of those things that I made those choices for myself. And I look back on that and I'm kind of glad I did. It has, I think, helped my overall outlook of my own abilities and what I can do, what I'm capable of.
Yeah. I really liked when we would touch on sort of when we were talking about the the competition and the ability for us to thrive in it, the ability for us to overcome the weather is something that we all feel accomplished in. It's something that we all really, um, and we've been feeling. Humans have felt that way for millennia about overcoming the seasons, and I think we talked about it towards the end. There is that sometimes it is hard to overcome it, and it's that's really, I think, where a lot of my attitude stems from, is my ability or inability to overcome it in the long run,
Mm.
whether that's passively, to feel motivated to do something, or be able to get into work to make money.
Yeah, I think building a sense of empowerment, self ability, courage to try new things in seasons where you feel concerned, or moments where you feel bogged down, like making time, setting time aside to express through another lane, so to speak, could be a highlight I take from this, um, because it's very hard to stop yourself in a busy season. Maybe weather's making things busy for you. It's important that you stop and see the foundation of your life and what fundamentals you need to keep addressed.
Yeah.
One of the highlights, I got two. One of the highlights I took away from this is that we really need to address this daylight savings times bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we talked about daylight a lot, just at the lack of it.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, we should have talked more on it, because that direct shift in how we arrange our lives around time, if in combination to how the weather's changing, especially when that happens, I mean, it literally kills people. Heart attacks go up, stuff like that. So that's a big deal. And another highlight I took away is we need to definitely have a show on the education system and how it affected Cameron.
Yeah.
My God. No, it's just important to
Yeah.
have community talks like this.
Yeah.
It's even for something like attitude, an important thing to be addressed, as someone that might be older is experiencing something that a teen is going through.
Yeah.
And the same kinds of sense, where
Yeah.
I feel alone right now.
Yeah.
I don't know how to fix that. So
Yeah.
not fixating on things, not fixating on educational system problems, is things like that can all help.
Yeah.
But not being I guess complacent, like fighting complacency in the midst of a complacent situation.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not easy.
Fighting
No.
complacency is harder than fighting the weather, at least for me.
Yeah.
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 Again, does weather become your excuse for just a problem with complacency? It's identifying the real culprit. What your attitude may shift when you feel like you're being more honest with yourself. With that said, is there any more breakpoint highlights, or should we go into diving depths here and see our personal highlights out of this?
I feel like I'm ready. I don't know if I have anything else.
Yeah, I think it's time to move forward.
Moving on.
So for diving depths, my portion, the piece I got out of this is how important it is to remind people around you to take a moment and check on their balance, You know, are you, you know, do you feel balanced? Even just asking someone that maybe can help trigger a response in their day that helps them to take a deep breath, take some water, take some, you know, things into account about job safety. Maybe they're cutting a corner and, you know, the weather's affecting their job site and you need to, you know, not cut that corner because you have responsibilities. Like things like that, you know, where that can really help change someone's attitude from then having to deal with an accident or having to deal with a kidney stone because they're doing this over and over seasonally. You know, getting into a routine is no joke. And once you, yeah, I mean, this is scientifically proven that if what we perceive time quicker as adults than we do kids because we're
'Cause of the
used to.
routine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Same memory lapping over this because it's the same routine. Yeah.
So not, you know, not falling off of self-reflection, not falling off of your self-care. Is that something I definitely struggle with during the seasons? It's all like Chad says, something it's too cold outside, or I make an excuse about the weather affecting
Yeah.
something I should be doing.
Yeah, I would say it's the same for me if I'm going to dive in. I mean, well, it's similar. It's that I want to look at my overall attitude towards the winter and the seasons and the weather, and because, you know, I spend a lot of time trying to compete against it and prevail against it, but it beats me in the long run with that complacency. It'll take away what I put into it to overcome it. It'll take that away from me, you know, in other things I want to do. And I think, you know, I can prevail over that as well and watch how my attitude towards the weather affects the way that I exist inside of it. And also, yes, drink more water. That's the other big thing I need to take away from this. But
You do, you do,
and that has
because
the
it's for
same thing.
your best benefit.
Yeah, and it has the same thing to do with that complacency of the distraction of being in the cold. The cold distracts, and then you get dehydrated, and then you don't realize it until your apprentice is like, "Dude," you know. So no, it's something I need to work on, is being more aware of my attitude towards the seasons.
Well, speaking about water and staying hydrated and stuff like that, one thing that I've been doing over the last couple of years is taking a pinch of sea salt, and I mix 6 different kinds of sea salt for the different mineral complexes that each one has, and it keeps. I have to say I feel much better.
Electrolytes. Fill your body with
Yeah.
electrolytes.
That's right. I mean, you know, it's the same thing with the Red Bull and stuff like that. It's supposed to be electrolytes. I just go straight with the sea salt.
It's good
Yeah,
stuff.
I don't use the iodized salt. I just go straight for sea salt, and the kinds that Cameron and I talked about this last time. I have a blend of 3 that I get from an olive oil manufacturer, which is a black Greek sea salt, a Baja Gold sea salt, and a Celtic sea salt.
Wow.
And then I add a Himalayan sea salt and an Icelandic sea salt, which is pure white. It's beautiful stuff. And then I use a Mendocino sea salt as well from the Mendocino area of California.
And
I blend all 3 of those, and then I'll take a pinch. I took one a little bit earlier, and then I'll wash it down with a full tumbler full of water.
3 of those. You just named off like 10.
So
Jeff goes a little fancy.
Well, I get
Well,
a blend
the
of 3.
Icelandic is only for my margaritas.
Well, see that I get a blend of 3, and then I add 3 more to it. So my full blend is a blend of 6.
Okay.
Okay.
From 6 different areas of the world.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
For good mineral intake.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, that's something I think I want to try to do.
Yeah,
Get some
that's a
salt.
really cheap So, well, I don't know how much you're spending on that, but like that's just a very simple. I'll put it like that. It's a very simple solution to
Right.
being able to get daily electrolyte and to get more.
How much is a Red Bull a day
Oh, I mean, yeah,
or a
Red Bull's like
Monster Energy?
Not cheap.
$5 or
They're not
something
cheap.
like that. Average.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's basically what I replaced. This is what's replaced Red Bull for me is sea salt and water.
Yeah, well, and it's overlooked too, the electrolyte factor, of how important that is. You can be drinking a ton of water, and if you're also doing the caffeine, and just flushing it through your system, and you're not getting the proper electrolytes, it's just not hanging around for
Right.
for helping your cellular activity out like you
Right.
need
And they're
it.
selling it with the Red Bull and the Monster Energy. They're selling the electrolytes with that, Same with
Well,
the
yeah,
Gatorade,
that's the trend now, and I mean, shoot, that's what I was doing was the Celsiuses, and it's superior. It's a superior go juice, but
Yeah.
Yeah, and
the
then
caffeine still has it has the downward effect on you eventually. It's you're
oh
you're
yeah.
you're trying to swim upstream.
Well, and I forget what it was exactly in Celsius that was causing it, but because I was drinking Celsius too a lot when I was working night shift. I was really hammered on a 12-hour shift that I
Yeah.
had to get into. I'd grab one,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't drink more than one.
Yeah,
But
good.
it still would. Oh, later on we learned because our whole household was drinking them, and there's kidney damage or something. There's still
apparently what
something
I was-
inside of Celsius that is just as bad as the other ones.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably just the over accumulation of the things. If you're
Yeah.
also taking a supplement and you're also eating pretty good and getting your nutrients anyways, when you overdo it, that's what builds up in the kidneys.
Yeah, you don't have time to flush out.
Yeah.
That is really a key factor with the atmosphere of medicine and
Supplements.
things like that. Supplements, yeah.
Not even
You
medicine. It's
no,
supplements.
but
People are like, oh, I'm taking a gajillion supplements, and you're just kind of going backwards,
yeah, chemically
flushing your
speaking,
organs out.
all of it coming together. It's all going to your gut. It's all going to these centralized places. That,
Yeah, it's also just straight up a lot of sugar.
Yeah. And
What? Oh, the energy drinks.
yeah.
most of them in general. Celsius
Right,
is
right,
different, but
okay.
again, it's still not good to accumulate a craving for that taste.
Sure.
Right.
It doesn't have to be sugar. It could be a lot of sodium to replace that sugar.
Yeah. Well, when I got bad with Celsius, I was doing 3 a day, and be like,
Man, yeah, playing Apex.
yeah,
Yeah. No, I got in and out of the energy drinks pretty quick. I found other things. I didn't like the way it made me feel. It didn't really extend my day that long, for what I was looking for.
So, what was your takeaway then, Jeff? From like you're saying salts here.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
would you say like your takeaway in that sense is making sure that you keep up educating people about the methods that work for you?
Yeah. And for myself, I've gotten away from a lot of processed foods. I grew up in my grandmother and my grandfather was diabetic, so my grandmother would make sweets, but she would make them with low sugar. So I grew up with low sugar. So I didn't have a craving for it as a kid. I didn't have a craving for it as an adult. The trucking industry for me really got me hitting fast food. So that got pretty old pretty quick for me too. And so I don't hit the fast food much anymore either. But as far as the maintaining an electrolyte balance, I use the sea salt and regular water. I've touched on some of that other stuff, and I've just it doesn't work in my life, my lifestyle. Now, the sea salt and the water isn't going to do anything for an energy boost late in the day, but it will maintain your electrolytes and your hydration. So,
Right. I've been taking a mushroom supplement too, and that seems 7 days in, I'm doing pretty good. Like, I can even, like last night we were up till 11:30, and it was nice. I got tired, and fell asleep naturally, and it was good sleep. So it's really nice being off the caffeine in general.
And that's the thing is you can't expect more from your body than realistically possible.
Yeah, it's
Like
not good.
if you're tired at 10 p.m. and you're like, well, I want to be up till midnight, that's not the time you want to be popping an energy drink. You want to
Yeah,
accept that
really
you're
screw it
getting
all up.
naturally tired. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to get that rest.
Yeah.
You're literally fighting yourself, and yeah, people have to for work and other situations, maybe medically speaking, have to have a different sleep schedule. But if you are used to this one thing for that works for you, you should definitely go towards that thing that works for you the best.
Mm-hmm.
And Elijah, what's your biggest takeaway, you think?
Um, well, just I was thinking internally about how, for me as a grower, uh, I'm on the clock all year, and it does affect everything. The seasons affect me greatly, and in a lot of ways. But as I get through the year, as winter comes on and I finish harvest, um, uh, I go into a little bit of a hibernation mode, I guess. Um, and I still have to do a lot of things, but I don't do as many things, which is mainly the garden, and so I'm that off a bit. And my takeaway is that I should really think into that and maybe try some different practices other than rumph. Finally, I can take a break from this. It's so stressful to always have to be on top of this too. And I just sleep a lot, literally on my days off and everything instead of hustling. To doing something different, doing some exercise, drinking some more water, um, doing some mindful practices. And I was just thinking just now, quitting an addiction or quitting an unhealthy routine, like taken away from what you were saying, Cameron. Uh, the quitting the caffeine has been a nice boost. I mean, of course, it was hard at first, had massive headache, all that. But the last like 4 days have been in that. I've been kind of in that transcendent mode of from the self discipline of it. You gain a level of confidence. You gain a level of clarity, new understanding, a little bit of a new you. And you're looking back on the old you, and it's good for motivation. For self-improvement. So that's my big takeaway.
No, I love it. I love it. And just remember, man, that every time you take steps in the right direction, if your day's not perfect to what you expected, just know you're taking steps to get towards that expectation, and
Oh no, big part of my healing journey has been taking away expectation and accepting things as they come, because anything's possible.
nice. No,
And
I like that.
that's dude, it's changed everything, bro. Changed it. I won the lottery the other day.
Did you really?
Dude.
I mean,
Oh my gosh.
it was four numbers, and
Wow.
it was $435, and I was
That's
just
pretty
all like,
good.
I was all, there you go, there you go. I was so
That's awesome, man. No, you must know about The Secret.
I do.
Yep.
What do you think of The Secret?
I mean,
Out of curiosity.
I haven't gone into The Secret, but if
Yeah,
in my
you
own
know of it.
in my own experience, is what I would consider The Secret that's been pretty big for me in my life very recently is it's just basically just what I just said, was not having expectations, letting go of everything that you've been identifying with for so long. That really is just it's just this repetitive story of who we are. It's full on ego death. That'll take you there.
It's
Realizing,
funny.
like, not
It,
just like realizing it in theory that you're nothing, this idea of who you are, but going through the experience. That'll do it for you. So
well, it's funny you say that too, because like the whole premise of The Secret I'm referring to is that well, a part of the premise is you put your thought in the universe, and then the universe extends that thought back, and something
manifestation.
manifestation essentially.
yeah.
But that's what I've always found funny about it is I've tried to do similar to what you're expressing, Elijah, and not ego death, but although I do know
Part
what
of
you
the
mean,
journey.
it is but expressing in a sense that I try not to expect a routine all the time. I want to live for the experience, and like that was a big thing for me in high school. Was I'm not going to necessarily push towards always landing every essay for a potential grant.
Well,
I just want to spend this time to get to know these people before I venture off in life
yeah.
and go to a different frame of mind. Like this is what's going to teach me right now is these real life experiences.
Yeah. We it's the grass is greener idea, or it's trying to fill the void within from achieving something in the future, thinking the next thing's going to fill the void when what you're doing there is wasting your time actually just going ahead and knowing you can fill the void on your own, and realizing that and being with that. And then once you've done that, you're more in your authentic self, and then that's the secret, is things start to align to you because they were already there waiting for you. You've just been spending your time thinking it was something else.
And you've been thinking about it, so you're far more likely to notice and take those opportunities as they come to you.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's alignment, it's energy, it's flow, and it's so hard to be in that in this day and age.
Yeah.
Just everything we talked about, from how the weather does affect you to how the food affects you inside the weather affecting you and everything. And getting outside of that, once you're in alignment, man. I mean, I have spent time out in my hot tub just freaking ecstatic in the middle of a thundering rainstorm. I could feel the flow of the rain. Like I'm like, it's about to pick up, and it would pick up, and I'd just be like in it, like woo, just
Awesome.
being in the now. It's really what it's about. And it's like those paths light up in front of you, and you can always pick a harder path and eventually get down the road and achieve it after you've stubbed your ankles and broken a few bones and everything. And that's cool. The journey was hard and it was a struggle, but sometimes there's an easier path to what you want, which is right there in front of you.
Yeah, but the only thing I'd add to that is you don't want it to be a crux on the things that you do need to do.
Well, sure.
Like what you were saying, to use an example, the farming, getting like, I understand that feeling of looking at a project or someone's, project that they're trying to figure out how to do. Jeff's a good example.
I've got a lot of
looked at his welding projects, and
I'm pretty good at taking things apart. I'm so on getting them back together again.
So
eventually a phoenix will rise.
Yeah.
But learning how to be patient with yourself and learning what methods there are that you enjoy getting into those projects is how you really find that balanced state, I feel like. Because there's going to always be people outside of your own expectations. A boss at work that expects you to get up in the morning to get to work on time. He doesn't care how that happens, just that you get to work on time.
Yeah.
So, it's situational. That's the way I'm trying to express it here. Because what you're saying is, again, the type of method I like to generally shoot for is more expressive correlation, experiencing the now, the present.
Yeah. Well, and experiencing it fully, even if it's shitty, so that it can be, gone through and done with. We tend to freeze up or run away from the experience, and then it haunts us and stays with us. Yeah. Sometimes it's important to fully be you in the moment, and of course sometimes there's times to rein it in, right, to save your job.
I mean, I think to the old saying of like, this too shall pass.
Yeah.
Good times will come, they will pass. Bad times will come, they will pass.
Yeah, Turn, Turn, Turn by the Birds.
Mm-hmm.
To every
Yeah,
season.
that was something our book. So the person that would read books to us as kids in elementary school, she had a chapel, and she told us that one day that the birds turn, turn, turn. That was like her big song that she always thought about when she was struggling. And I always thought that was a clever one, because
That is cool. Yeah.
that there's a lot of power looking back in that, and at that age we're all like, oh, look at this old song, like
Well, I think the best part is that Cameron ties it into the weather, because the birds turn because the weather.
yeah, no, it's great. See, we're on subject.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing we didn't touch on was how our menu changes through the seasons, depending on the weather too.
Oh, just
the things we eat.
Yeah,
You know,
like
Well,
in the
I think we
wintertime,
talked
tend to
about
eat
that.
more stews, more soup.
we talked a lot about like
We talked on
habits, like
food a
eating
We
little.
talked on
habits.
comfort
Yeah.
food, yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's definitely a thing. I'm just now reining in my sugar intake. I gained 20 freaking pounds this winter. Ridiculous.
well, yeah, that's the thing. I haven't even checked, but I know I've gained a little weight.
I definitely eat more meat in the summertime than I do in the winter.
Hmm.
I haven't been eating enough in general lately. It's just sort of a bad thing. So like I need to eat more. I need to get better about cooking for myself and eating more protein food and not processed food, because I have not cut out processed food, unfortunately.
I think the word you're looking for, Chad, is not eating more. It's kind of in the situation that I'm in. Like we shouldn't eat more. We should eat
Right.
more balanced. We should
More
have
appropriately.
balanced meals.
Eat
Yeah.
more better.
Appropriately, yeah.
Yeah.
Mo
Should eat
better.
more better.
Oh,
Eat more
Eat
better.
more better. That's the real diving depth right there. Eat more
Yeah.
Don't
better.
eat more, eat more better.
Anything you do in life, you should simply do more better.
That's right.
Well,
Wise words from Uncle Sammy.
Oz agrees 100%.
that'll be our reflections retreat today. I'm not even kidding. Eat more
No,
better.
Eat more better.
Drink more better.
Drink more better.
Eat
Eat more
more
better.
better.
Be more better.
Chemo better.
There you go.
Oh, did we
That's a
just
great.
make
That's a
plan?
great final line. I like that.
I think so too.
Chemo better.
Oh man. Well, it's been a pleasure today, you guys. Thanks for showing up and fighting nicotine and caffeine addictions all across the board here. So we're combined in unity and making it at 8 a.m. on Sundays. So hey,
Yeah.
thank you guys for being here today on an Intellectual Adventure podcast. This has been a fun time, and we look forward to trekking with you in the future.
Yes.
Thanks again, and take care.